Okay, so on your Zayin Amud Beis, and as much as I understood, the Gemara comes in Mamash as side point from the Mishnah. The rest of the sugya that's going to be from here, it really so far we just had to sum it up. The Gemara so far just yesterday had spoken about the Makor that Eish Shloi Balam, which was only one line. That was the Kiyesh Wachim. And then on the side subject, the Mamash Cruz that Yachtav tells us about Yachtav and Achim. It tells us about only Yachav min Ha'av, not Nachem min Ha'em, but only both, only Yachav min Ha'av. And that was also all a side issue. And this next issue also seems to be a side issue, and it's going to be based on a diak in the Mishnah, which is not the subject of our Mishnah, but that's where it's going to take us. So the Gemara starts with a side issue. Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Shemesa Muter Be'ima. So just a little diagram. I'm not sure what's going to be with that. We'll see how it works. If the diagrams help today. Shemesa, here's Shemes Yavam Shemesa, two brothers. He had a wife, and the brother died. Regular case. So this woman is the Shemes Yavam. He's the brother. The brother is supposed to marry. The Yavam is supposed to marry his deceased brother's wife, and she died. So he's surely allowed to marry the sister. Because even if it would have been his wife, even if it would have been a full marriage, achos ishto is most of the mother once the wife dies. Only also b'chayah. But the mother, if it would have been a full marriage, if the yavam would have married her, so they wouldn't be allowed to marry her mother, even if she died, because the mother-in-law is also forever. But here the Gemara talks about this relationship. The Gemara wants to know the relationship of a shomeres yavam, shemesa. This shomeres yavam means a woman who's waiting to be misyabim. Her husband died. She's waiting for her brother-in-law to be miyabim her. That status is called shemeres yavam. And now she died. So is the yavam, the potential yavam, he had some kind of he was on standby to be miyabim his sister-in-law. Is he allowed to marry the mother? Is it considered that stage when she was obligated to? The word zika, we're going to have right away, means that there's an obligation, there's a connection. Does that make as if he's married to her? And therefore, if he's married to her, even if it didn't happen, he didn't get married to her, it didn't miyabim her, but he also will be forever husband and her mother. So the Gemara starts off, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav, Shemeres Yavam Shemesa. Mutabima, he's allowed to marry that mother because it's not considered his mother-in-law. And the diagram I put already, the sister also. We'll talk about that soon. Also, that's surely mutter to marry the sister, because even if it would have been his wife, would have been mutter to marry her sister after she dies. But her mother, she would not have been mutter to marry if it would have been his wife. So that's the issue over here. We're going to say that since she's only Shemeres Yavam, he never culminated the marriage. He never married her. He didn't do Yibum. She just was omeid to marry him. That's a Shemeres Yavam. So that connection is not enough to be considered a wife, and therefore he's mutter to marry the mother. So we'll see that inside. The woman who was destined to do Yibum to, when she died, he's mutter to marry her mother. That's what the Gemara titles Ein Zika. The word Zika means a connection, a obligation, a connection. So Ein Zika, until he takes her, she's not considered connected to him. This has a lot of ramifications. The Gemara is going to have a couple of cases coming up, and he holds in all of them Ein Zika. So the Gemara has a case coming up that there's a Mishnah later on that Mem Aleph, and the Gemara is going to refer to that eventually. And there seems to be a machlokus over there. At least one opinion is there. There's going to find both opinions. And why did he make a statement on his own? Rav said such a case. He invented the case, and he said the psak. If there already was such a machlokus tanom, he should have said so. He should have said halacha kedivei Omer ein zika. There's already, we find somebody who says that. Why didn't he say that case of ein zika? He just should have said halachas like that, Tana. Why did he have to say his own statement? The answer is betray. So just to put another diagram, see if it helps. I'm not sure if we'll be going in order at all. But if there are two brothers, here's a case where there are two remaining brothers. There were three brothers. One was married and she had a sister. He died. So here we could talk about, are they considered, at this stage, before anything else happens, are they considered obligated? Is there considered a connection? Zika, is there a Zika over here? Go ahead.
Surely they can marry. They have to marry.
Yeah, yes. But the question is there what we're talking about, Zika, is that connection? If the obligation to do Yibum is that these two brothers are only to do Yibum to this woman. to have a brother that died, and he has a wife without any children. He has no children. So these two brothers are supposed to be miyabim. Here, there's going to be an issue. And we'll throw out the case that Gemara is going to be talking about. Let's say this brother on the left, Levi will call him. Let's say he married at this point, after there was a yibum, he married the sister of the yevama. There was a woman who was only to do yibum with one of the two brothers, and one of the brothers took the liberty of marrying her sister.
She's also a yibum. Oh no.
No. She's a sister. She's a widow's sister, and so. Then it talks about if we'll get to that case eventually. But here, just to show this case that there are two brothers available. When there are two brothers available to do yibum, so then there's less of a connection to any particular brother because my brother could do yibum. So there's a difference between having two brothers and one brother. If there's two brothers, there's less zika. There's less connection to any particular brother to that yivama. When there's only one brother, he's the only one. If there only be one brother, he wouldn't have another brother. So then it definitely is between them. They're the ones that have to do yibum. So there might be a chance to be a stronger yibum. So the Gemara is going to say that this case, there only was one brother over here. So you might think that in the case of one brother, there's going to be zika. Even if we're going to say in this case, of two brothers, there's not a zika. We'll get to that case soon, eventually. But in this case, where there's only one brother, you might think that there is a zika. And if there's a zika, then he would not be allowed to marry his mother-in-law. Not his mother-in-law, his wife, the yevama's mother. She ended up dying. But you might think that since there was a connection while she was alive, she was obligated to do yibum to him. You might think that connection is called yezika, it's a strong connection. And even if she dies, he's not allowed to marry her mother. Kamash malan ain't zika, even if there's only one brother. I hope that is clear. I hope that this other sister here is not getting in the way. But let's cross her out. You have
I forgot zika means that.
Zika means a connection, an obligation. And before they marry, before they do yibum, before chalitza and yibum, are they considered connected? The fact obligated to each other. They surely have to do yibum. That's the mitzvah to do yibum. But are they considered? Does that obligation? Does that mitzvah make them connected? If you hold the zika, there's a connection. So much of a connection that even if she dies, he's not allowed to marry her mother. Maybe that would be the sound to say yezika. There's going to be such a mandiyama. We're going to see on the bottom of the page. Someone argues and says yezika, and even if she dies, that connection means that it's as if his wife that died and he's not allowed to marry her mother. So now the Gemara started. It said Rav said that ain't zika, and he's allowed to marry her. It's not considered. And even though he could have said that there's such a mandama that says ain't zika. In this case, when there are two brothers, that it's considered ain't zika. We'll see the case. We'll see how it plays out. But that would only be when there are two brothers. When there are two brothers, two remaining brothers, two surviving brothers. So then there's more spar to say ain't zika because there's not a direct necessary obligation to any particular one of them. The other one could do yibum. When there's one brother left, one remaining brother, you might think that here there should be a zika. Kamash malan, even if there only was one brother, it's not considered a zika. It's not considered a connection, and he could marry the mother if Ivama dies, he could marry her mother. We'll see that inside. Why didn't he just say Allah Kedev Yom Ein Zika? The answer is, if he would have just said Allah, like the one who says Ein Zika, but that's talking about two brothers are remaining, two surviving brothers. If there are two surviving brothers, so then there's no Zika to either one of them. If there's only one surviving brother, yes, Zika, and then he'd be obligated. The connection between him and the Yavam was very strong. That would ask him to marry her mother even if she dies. Kamash malan Ein Zika, even with one brother. So why doesn't he just say that? He should have specified the whole Ein Zika, and even if there's only one brother, Ein Zika. He could have said it like that. Why did he have to make the whole new case? Go to the case again, jump to the case. If you would have said that Ein Zika, even if there's only one brother, then you might have thought that even if the Yevama did not die, just get the case, there were two brothers, he had a wife, his brother died. At this case, at this stage, that the brother died before the Yevama died. She did not die. Take away the egg, she did not die. So she's made to be the Yibum to the brother. He's supposed to do Yibum. Can he take the liberty of marrying her mother, or for that matter anybody else, and then she'll become an Erva? It means he won't be able to do Yibum to his wife's. Why is it us?
Because he's obligated to marry the Obama.
So, right, and even though now that he marries the mother, yes, it's a mitzvah. But now that he marries the mother, so now it absolves, it takes away. So that's what the Gemara calls asal levatal mitzvah sivam. You're not allowed to get rid of start to make a break to stop. It's not that he doesn't have he maybe it's called the Esed Rabbanan, means I'm not sure if it's just the right that he did, but he preempted the possibility of doing yibum by marrying the mother or the sister, whatever it might be. So you might think that there's no zika at all. Of course, it's a mitzvah to do yibum, but if he gets out of it by marrying a relative and making her now usher to do yibum, you might think he didn't do anything wrong. Kamash Malano, you're not allowed to do that. So you're not allowed to marry the mother, the woman's mother, if she's alive. Do yibum. But if the woman died and there's no possibility to do yibum anyway, so then he could marry the mother because that zika, that connection, there's no zika. There was no connection in the way that she becomes considered his wife and he wouldn't be allowed to marry her mother even after death. That's what the Gemara says, I think. Let's see it inside. If he would have said so, that there ain't zika even with one brother, but I would have thought of even though the wife, the yevamos, is still alive, that he'd be allowed to marry her mother in order, and then he wouldn't be able to marry her anymore. Only after she dies could he marry the mother. But if she's still alive, don't marry the mother. Why? Because you're not allowed to nullify, to what's a better word? To stop, to you can't stop the mitzvah of yibum. You can't do something.
It's kind of the ratchet. You can't put it in your.
Okay. See, so therefore, if the yevamos is still alive, so then he's not allowed to marry her relative and make her into an erva that he's not allowed to do yibum.
By that action, he's automatically mevatel the.
Right. That's the word. Also, levatel mitzvah yevamos. You're not allowed to nullify the mitzvah of yibum by marrying a relative. So that you're not allowed to do. So what did he say? That if she died, it's a mutter to marry the mother. Tanan. The Gemara has a mission later on that the Gemara thinks is going to be the subject. It says Yevimto Shemesa Mutter Bachosa. That's the whole Mishnah. I mean, the Mishnah is long, but those are the words that the Gemara is quoting. Yevimto Shemesa Mutter Bachosa. Yevimto, those 4 words. Yevimto Shemesa Mutter Bachosa. Back to the chart. Just to now that it's on the same chart. This was the first case. Let's bring the sister in over here. It says Yevim. I put the mother. There's also a sister. Yevimto Shemesa. He's allowed to marry the sister. Now that goes really without saying, because even if it will be a wife, he's allowed to marry the sister. Even if someone had a wife and she died, he's allowed to marry her sister. Right? Like it says, only when she's alive. So that's Pasha. And the truth is the Mishnah over there is talking about that. The Mishnah over there in the Daf Mem Aleph over there, it says that even a wife that dies is allowed to marry her sister. Then it says a yevama that dies is allowed to marry her sister. But the fact that it just says marrying a sister is mashma that he would not be allowed to marry the mother. The mother is a much bigger chiddush. The sister is only also even to a wife, only as long as the wife is alive. So Kal V'chom over here that it's only a yevama. He's surely mutter to marry the sister after she dies. But the fact that it just says he's mutter to marry the sister, we could infer that he'd be also to marry the mother because the mother-in-law is us even after death of the wife. So isn't that a raya that he's not allowed to marry the mother? Rav said that Yevim Toshem Mei someone.
I mean, he's more likely to be attracted to the sister.
Nothing to do with attractive. It has to do with Mutter Rasa. It says here he's allowed to marry the sister.
But
if it'd be mutter to marry,
I thought the chiddush is that you might think not to marry the sister.
How can you not marry the sister? Why is he supposed to? He's even a wife that dies, he's allowed to marry the sister. There's a surely no wisdom to marry the sister after a yevama dies. Even after a wife dies, he's allowed to marry the sister. That goes without saying. We're not talking about any. Also, the ages over here in those days, there was not such a big difference. Age difference. It was they got married at 12. There wasn't such a big difference. But the fact that the Mishnah says that yevama shemesa, this she's called yevama shemesa, that it's mutter to marry her sister. That seems to imply that if it would be also to have married a mother, because the white talk about a small chiddush, so I should have said a much bigger chiddush. So that's the Gemara's kasha, that the Mishnah seems to be against this statement of Rav Huna Rab. Tanan, Yevim Toshem Mesa Mutter Bachosa. Isn't the diak Bachosa and Imalo? It's mashma only a sister whose mutter, even if she would have been a wife, it would have been mutter to marry the sister. But the mother, no. The Gemara says no. The Gemara is matche. Who are the afilu beima? You could say that the Mishnah over there really doesn't mean to say dafka sister, not a mother. It could be even a mother also be mutter to marry because ain't zika. So that's the beginning of the Mishnah over there. The Mishnah says a wife. That's what we said. That's a Torah law. That a wife that dies is mutter to marry her sister, and only the sister, not the mother. That's mamish a Torah case. That you're not supposed to marry the mother-in-law even after the wife dies. So that's why the Brisa talks about the sister, because it's putting it all in the same category over there. Look over there, you'll see the Mishnah that talks about Ishto Shemesa and any other cases. Then it talks about Yevim Toshem Mesa. But then Yevim Toshem Mesa is even more lenient than it's even mutter to marry the mother-in-law. All this was Rav Huna in the name of Rav. Shemesh Yavam Shemesh Mutar Ba'ima, and the Gemara calls that Ein Zika. And now there's a machlokes about that. Rav Yehuda argues. Rav Yehuda Amar Shemesh Yavam Shemesh Asa Ba'ima, and which the Gemara right away calls Alma Kasava Yesh Zika. That means that there's the connection, that obligation that he had to do Yibum is a strong connection, and that means that it's considered like a little bit like his wife, even though he didn't do Yibum, it's considered his wife. And mainly, if she dies, he would not be allowed to marry her mother. The sister, of course, he could, because even a wife that dies, he can marry the sister. But he can't marry the mother because it's like his wife would have died. That's us to marry her mother. The question is back. The same question is going to be like a mirror copy of what we had till now, the opposite. Why not say to the Mishnah where it talks about that over there it says Yesh Zika? So he should have just said, he holds like that Tana. Why does he have to go and say his own statement? The answer is, I will betray Ein Zika. You would have thought the same thing the Gemara said a second ago, that there's a difference between one surviving brother or two surviving brothers. If there's one brother, there's more tzad to say Yesh Zika, because everything is pointing to him. The Yevama is waiting for him to do evil. Only one available Yavam, one available brother, live brother. But if there'd be two brothers, there's more reason to say it might be Ein Zika, because it's not only strong to any particular of the two brothers. It could be.
Yehuda is already a little bit machri. He holds even if by one, there's definitely Zika.
He holds Yesh Zika.
If there's one brother.
He holds Yesh Zika, and the Gemara is asking that he should have said Yesh Zika. The Gemara answers, you would have thought if he would have said Yesh Zika, he wants to say that even by two brothers, Yesh Zika. He's going to say that even if there are two brothers also, even if this case there would have been another brother also. There's two brothers, put another brother over here, and Yevama died. Neither of them are allowed to marry the mother because there was a Zika to both of them. You might have thought if he would have said Yesh Zika, he would have thought only in a case where there's one brother, one surviving brother, then he cannot marry the mother. But if there are two surviving brothers, you might have thought that they could marry the mother because there was no Zika to any particular one. Kamash Malan, that even if there's two brothers, also neither of them could marry the mother. But the Gemara is a kasha that this machlokes is spoken about. It was talking about two brothers, and the one who said Yesh Zika said even if there are two brothers. But that's the Gemara's kasha now that he wouldn't have thought if he would have said the Lacham Adam Yesh Zika over there. It's talking about two brothers. We'll get to the case eventually. The Gemara will say this case, but that's the Gemara's kasha now that if he would have said Allah, the Gemara first says if he would have said Allah Kedevi Oma Yesh Zika, I would have thought only if there's one brother. But if there are two brothers, I wouldn't have known Ein Zika. And he wants to tell you that I would have thought Ein Zika, and he wants to tell you Yesh Zika even if there are two brothers. That's why you have to speak it out, Yesh Zika. And the fact that he said Shemesh Yavam Shemesh means even if there are two brothers. But the Gemara says Haki Pligi, betray Pligi. The machlokas of the Tanam is talking about when there are two brothers, and somebody said over there Yesh Zika. So you see that Yesh Zika, even if there are two brothers, he could have just said Allah Kedevi Oma Yesh Zika. Why did he have to say his own statement? The Gemara answers, you're right. Take that back. Eliyat Amar Haki Haba Amena top of the Fyutches Mechayim Avala Achamisa Pakala Zika. The Zika Bechti Pak. If you would have said Allah Madama Yesh Zika, I would have thought only is when they're alive. But after the woman dies, you might have thought that it goes off. Kamash Malan, that it doesn't go off by itself. Over there, now we'll get a little bit just to talk about the case. The case that the mission was talking about is that there are two brothers, Shemesh Yavam, and there are two brothers and one widow, right? And then she has a sister also. And one of the brothers was Mekadesh. He didn't marry, he did Kiddushin to the sister.
When the brother had died.
There were three brothers. One of them died, and he had a wife. So now she falls to Yibum to one of these two brothers, to both of them. Someone has to do Yibum. And one of them, he went a different track, and instead of marrying the Yevama, he did Kiddushin to the sister. He didn't. Kiddushin is now he can now he's usher. This is his wife. He didn't. Mamash doing the He didn't do the suin yet. Now this brother now he wants to marry her. So we say, but this woman is still a zakuka to you. That both of the Gemara does. This is the issue that you have to wait. If you hold Yesh Zika, there's another din of Yesh Zika now. If you hold Yesh Zika, which the Gemara here says there's Yesh Zika, the Mishnah would be opinion that says Yesh Zika, and therefore wait until this brother. We tell this brother, don't marry, don't consummate the marriage, because right now she's a chosa kukasa. She is a kuka to you. As much as she's a kuka to the other brother, she's a kuka to you also. So you can't marry a chos kukasa. You can't marry the sister of the one who's kuka to you. So therefore, wait until your brother does ibum to the widow, and then you're not skuk anymore because she's already taken care of. And then you'd be able to marry your you are arusa.
I can't marry the sister.
But you have to wait because the yesh zika.
Ah.
This is the case that what the Mishnah was talking about. That spoke about yesh zika, ein zika, and it's talking about two brothers. And here, that's what the Gemara said, that this Mishnah is talking about two brothers, and it says yesh zika. That's what we tell the other brother. If you want to marry her, you have to wait until she's taken care
It
of.
was be holding by Rabbi Yehuda. This is what the outcome.
What do you have, Rabbi Yehuda?
Because Rabbi Yehuda says there's zika even by two brothers. We're holding the
Yes. And the Gemara is asking, and yes, and the Gemara is asking Perish Mishnah. Why not say the halachas like this Mishnah that says that there's a zika? Rabbi Yehuda, you are Amora. Rabbi Yehuda say the halachas like this Mishnah that says that even if there are two brothers, also there's a zika.
Right.
So instead of saying your own statement, Shemes Yavam Shemesa Asar Bima, you should have said this case halachas like this Mishnah that says don't marry the sister until your brother marries the yevama. Why not say so? The Gemara says you would have thought this is only because they're alive. This kuka is alive. But in the case where she died, like this case over here, you might think that the zika goes off and he'd even be allowed to marry the mother, because even though there was a zika, as long as she was alive, but maybe the death takes off the zika. And even though a wife who dies, it's also to marry her mother, but maybe a yevama who was a kuka, maybe there was a zika as long as she was alive, but when she died, the zika goes off and he's allowed to marry her mother. Kamash Malan, even after death, it doesn't go off. Which the Gemara calls bechdi. Bechdi means for nothing, without anything being done. If the brother marries the yavama, so then the zika goes off, like he says, wait, and then you can do marry your arusa. But zika bechdi lo paka. Bechdi means by nothing. The zika doesn't go off without anything. So that was the machlokes. We have two machlokes, Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. And now the Gemara continues. It's going to be again like a mirror image of what we spoke about before, according to the Rav Huna. And now, before the Gemara is asking a kasha from the following Mishnah, now we want to bring a support to Rav Huna. There seems to be a proof to him. That was the same proof we brought before. Before was a proof against. Now was a proof for. That was the Mishnah we quoted, that it says the Yevama who died, it's mutter to marry her sister. And that was the first diagram over there. We saw there's a sister and a mother. So it's mutter to marry the sister. Isn't it implying that it's also to marry the mother? Surely it's mutter to marry his sister. Even if it would have been his wife, it would have been mutter to marry the sister after his wife dies. So isn't it not mashma that it's only bachosa in the imalo? It's only mutter to marry her sister because.
Right, the inference is that the sister for sure, yes, and not the mother.
And not the mother. In fact, it's a sister. She just had a bigger chiddush, even the mother. Imalo, isn't it mashma that he cannot marry the mother? And that means that yesh zika, so proof to Rav Yehuda. The Gemara says no, it's not a proof. Same way that we rejected it before. Over there it's dafka bachosa. Over there it talks about mamish wife. So that's true that if it's a wife that dies, only mutter to the sister, not to the mother. That's mamish what the pasuk says. It's also to marry all arais even after death of the relationship. Only by sister is there an exception. Tananami Sefer mutter bachosa, because it's talking about the subject over there about a wife, so it talks about a yevama also. But maybe yevama would have been mutter even to marry the mother, so it's not a proof. But so far, what do we have? We have machlokes in this first case. If it's mutter to marry, let's get on to the diagram. And also, we're going to get back to our Gemara now. This was the diagram that the Gemara was talking about. This first case is a mutter. If a yevama, here's the yevama, his deceased brother's wife, who also died then, is a mutter to marry her mother. So that was machlokes. Rav Huna said, in the name of Shmuel said it's mutter because ain't zika. Rav Yehuda said also because yesh zika. The sister surely is mutter because even a wife's sister is mutter to marry after that. But it's mutter to marry the mother. If you hold ain't zika, it's mutter. If you hold yesh zika, it's also. And machlokes somewhere wrong. Now, just to go. Now we'll just go. This was yesterday's Gemara. This was the Mishnah, and we're going to bring right from our Mishnah. Now, this was yesterday's. Whoever was here yesterday. This was the diagram for yesterday. This is Eish Zachav Shlohay Ba'alamo. Just the colors here. The color scheme just shows the order of things that happened. First happened the blue, and then the orange, and then the pink, whatever that is. So first there were two brothers, and one of them, and each one had a wife. Not related. The two wives, two brothers that each one had a wife. Very nice. Then one of them died without children, so there's a necessity to do yibum, but he didn't do yibum yet. After the blue happened the orange. What happened? There's a third brother was born. Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Reuven and Shimon both had a wife. Reuven died. Before anything happened, Levi was born. When he came into the world, he found his sister-in-law as a widow. That he never met his brother. Reuven and Levi never saw each other. And when he came into the world, she was not yet married to the Shimon. And then Shimon did Yibum, then he died. That's called Eishes Achos Shelo Yibalomo. He's not allowed to marry her even as a wife of Shimon, because she was historically, once upon a time, the wife of Reuven. That's Eishes Achos Shelo Yibalomo. When he was born, he met her as the widow of Reuven that he's not allowed to marry. So forever he's not allowed to marry her, and even the Tzara is also not allowed to marry. That's the Mishnah. And the Gemara is going to work on this case of the Mishnah to figure out our machlokes about Yesh Zika or Ein Zika. The Mishnah continues that if he did not do Yibum, but if he did Yibum before he was born, that's going to be the next Mishnah about Reb Shimon. Maybe over there he found her not as a widow, he found her as Shimon's wife. But the Gemara, what the Mishnah does say is if he did Ma'amar, he only did Ma'amar, that he was ready to marry her, but he did Ma'amar. So it says that then it's considered a bit of a wife, and therefore the tzara, that's the question about this woman. Can he marry this woman? If it would have been, as we said, that there was no yibum done at all, and that's when Levi came into the picture. So then he's not allowed to marry not the original erba. He cannot marry the tzara either.
If there was a consecrated,
Yes.
If he did.
After Levi was born, Shimon married her as he's supposed to, and then he died. So now they both of them fall to Levi. Levi cannot marry the original one because he doesn't marry the second one because tzara serva. She's a tzara she's a co-wife to the erva. This one is an erva and this is a co-wife. The Mishnah says that if the only would have been Maimar, so he cannot marry her because she's and the other one, the tzara, that's the question, because only Rabbanan are they considered co-wives on a the Raisa level.
So then
they're not co-wives.
You might want to say then for the Raisa, your Yibum should take priority, and
he should do Yibum to the Tzara.
Yeah.
And so it says Choletzes V'lomas Yebemes. That's what it says. Choletzes V'lomas Yebemes. That there has to be a chalitza over here because on the Raisa level, he should have done Yibum to her. There's only a marriage Rabbanan that makes her into a Tzara that's stopping her from being able to do Yibum. So you do chalitza. But the Gemara now comes into our subject. Now the Gemara relates it to our subject. Let's say there was no Ma'amar. Well, again, two brothers that had wives. One of them died at that stage. Is there was no Yibum, but is there a Zika?
Sure.
Yeah, but you have to talk the language of the Gemara. We know you have to marry it. That's the mitzvah of Yibum. But it's called a Zika. We just had a machlokus now. Yesh Zika, Ein Zika. That means that there's a considered that they're so connected that he can't marry the relatives. The same way we said he cannot marry the mother. He cannot. Is it called as kuka? You have to get the terminology of the Gemara. The Gemara is calling Yesh Zika, Ein Zika, not as their mitzvah to do Yibum. Again, you have to agree to the terminology. If the Gemara is talking a certain language, you have to agree to the terms. We're not talking about if there's a mitzvah to do Yibum. You call that Zika. If there's a mitzvah to do Yibum, that's called Zika. That's not what the Gemara calls Zika. Zika means that they consider it so connected that there's considered a relationship that he's not allowed to marry her mother. Go back again, just to this up where are we going? This case. Oh, I'm sorry, what I'm doing. I'm not getting this case. Is he allowed to marry the mother? This case, we wanted to know that he had a brother who died, then she had a wife. He's supposed to do Yibum, but before he did Yibum, she died. Is he allowed to marry the mother? So we're not talking about is the mitzvah to do Yibum. That's not the subject of Zika. When he calls Zika, there's a new terminology. You're right.
Okay, but you were there for sure not.
So we have machlokus. We have machlokus Amoram if there's Zika. Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. Machlokus if there's Zika or not. Rav Huna says no Zika. Rav Yehuda has Zika. So Namar is asking a question now that this Mishnah. We go back to our Mishnah now, the first Mishnah, and it only spoke about if there was Ma'amar. If there was Ma'amar, so then they considered like they are co-wives. But if there's no Ma'amar, he didn't do anything. The two brothers, they had wives. One of them died at that stage. And now he died. He died without having done Ma'amar. Take away this coil over here. If it's take it away.
No,
he didn't do anything. So the Mishnah's mashma that they're not considered co-wives, and Levi could marry the wife of Shimon. He cannot marry the wife of Reuben. But because she was the Eishes Achos Shelo Yibalomo, but he could marry the Shimon's wife. And the question is why? That's also a tzaras erva of a zika. That there is a zika over here. If you say yesh zika, we're asking kasha on Rav Yehuda. Yehuda holds yesh zika. So even if there was no mama, this connection, the fact that she's obligated to do yibum makes them related in a way that he shouldn't be allowed to marry the tzara either. That's the Gemara wants to ask a kasha.
He wasn't born yet. Does it make a difference?
The fact that he wasn't born makes you into an erva. Levi was not born when Reuven died, and then Levi was born.
So if Levi marries.
No, Shimon is supposed to marry this woman. He didn't, and he died. There was a Zika over there. Before Shimon died, there was a Zika. If contributed, there was a Zika. And then so that Zika is like sort of a marriage, even if nothing happened yet. The same way we said is not allowed to marry her mother if she dies. So at that point, they should be considered related. These two women are related. Why? Because she's a co-wife midrabanan. On the not midrabanan, on the Zika level makes that she's married and they're co-wives. So even if there would not have been any mama and this Shimon would die, Levi should not be allowed to marry the co-wife either. We'll see that in the Gemara. They'll come back to the chart again if that makes sense.
No surprise because
Let's see it inside. Our Mishnah. If Shimon did mamar to the wife of Reuven and then Shimon died because he did then the second one, the wife of Shimon, only could do chalitza because they're a bit married. The fact they're a bit of a tzara because her husband Shimon did at least mamar to the wife of Reuven. But the Gemara makes this deal. The only problem is because he did mamar, the exclusion to Rabbanan. But if he didn't do mamar to the wife of Reuven, then they're not considered tzaros, and Levi could do yibum to the wife of Shimon. That can't be. If you hold that the yezika, if there's such thing as called yezika, that means that the obligation to do yibum makes them related. So then she's considered a tzara anyway. The wife of Shimon is considered a tzara to the wife of Reuven because the wife of Reuven has a zika to her husband Shimon, and he shouldn't be allowed to marry the wife of, and she should not. Levi should not be allowed to marry the wife of Shimon. Again, just to see the chart again, just if it makes it any clearer. This case, even if there would not have been any mama, take away the mama over here. I wonder if I can erase it. This was yesterday's Mishnah that Shimon did do mama, and then Levi is not allowed to marry even Shimon's wife because they're considered tzaros on the Rabbanan level. The Gemara is asking if you hold Zika, so even without having done mamar, also they're considered tzaros because Shimon is connected to this woman, even if he didn't do mamar, because the Zika connects them. And if he would have died, even without having done mamar, Levi should not be allowed to marry even the wife of Shimon. Not only the wife of Reuven, who's Eishes Achshaloy Bolomo, he shouldn't be allowed to marry the wife of Shimon either, because it's a tzaras Eishes Achshaloy Bolomo bezika. That's the Gemara's proof to show Ein Zika. Is that good? Does everybody have any problem with that? Everybody happy? That's the Gemara's kasha to show Ein Zika. The Gemara answers, you're right that the Mishnah could have said even a big chiddush, that even if it would have been no mamar, also he wouldn't be allowed to do yibum because to the wife of Shimon because there is a zika over there, and it's a tzaras eish esachav shaloi b'olama b'zika. So why doesn't it say a big chiddush? Once tell you chiddush this way. It's not to say that the Basi later on Bishamai holds that this ma'amar, even if it would have been ma'amar, it also would have been considered that it's a marriage already. It's as if he's married to her, and then it would have been like the next Mishnah that then it would have been, what would have been then? And then she wouldn't even need chalitza either. Then if it would be that Shimon actually married her, the same way it would have been the case that it says in the Reisha that if he married her, so then Shimon's wife also doesn't need the chalitza either because it's mamash tzara serva. Kamash malan that it's not like Beshamai, the mama doesn't make it as if it's considered married, and therefore she does need chalitza. But Erechanami, you want to say that she doesn't go that she cannot marry. It's true that she cannot marry even if there was no mama because the zika alone makes them considered related, and she's a tzaras. So the Gemara still holds this machlokes if you hold yesh zika, ain't zika. The Gemara continues to ask a kasha. There's going to be a Perish Brisa that seems to say ain't zika. Eis v'abaye shnei achin ba'olam echad umeis echad mehen below vlad. V'amar hasheni lasos mama b'ivimto below hispik lasos ba mama ashenolo lo ach v'meis. Mamash the same mamash case we're looking for. There are two brothers that were living. That means they were both saw each other. They were living. One of them died without children. Okay, regular case of Yibum. And the second brother, Shimon, is ready to do Ma'amar. He didn't even do Ma'amar. He didn't have a chance to do Ma'amar until Levi was born. And then Shimon died. We'll see the chart. I think there's a chart for this one. I mean, I guess this is a case that I want to show, but this you have to show this one. This Levi was born afterwards. Two brothers, one of them died without children, and she's supposed to do Yibum to Shimon, and he didn't even have a chance even to do Mamre, and he also died. You have to cross this one out also. And now it says that, and he also has a wife. So it says that this one does not, there's no obligation at all because she's a Shaf Shaloi Balamo. And if he has a wife, there's a regular, I should have made a picture over here of another wife that he, Levi, can do Chalitza, even there's no relationship. It's mamish the case we're looking for. This is a case that there was no mama, and it says that the Ein Zika, it says that Levi is allowed to marry the Tzara, the wife of Shimon, because there is no relationship. If you hold the Zika, then they're related. This woman who's Eishes Achim Shloi Ba'olamo, and this woman who was, maybe I can get a different case over here. I'm not sure if I have anything else that's clear enough, but here it says that if they would not have been mama, then there's no connection between the two, between Shimon and the wife of Reuben, and Shimon's wife would be allowed to do Yibum to Levi. So that says Beferish Ein Zika. We'll see it inside. Two brothers that were living at the same time. One of them died without any children, and the second one, Shimon, was ready to do Mamar. Didn't have a chance to, and Levi was born. And then Shimon died. The original wife, the wife of Reuben, surely cannot do Yibum or Chalitza because she was not in the same world. Reuben was not in the same world as Levi. They didn't see each other. Ushniya, the wife of Shimon, she's a regular wife without any co-wife. If you'd say that there is a Zika, so then they are related. That Tzaras, both of them are married to Shimon. One actual marriage, and the first one is also with a Zika. So you see, Beferish Ein Zika. So we're attacking Rav Yehuda, who said Yesh Zika. The Gemara answers, Amani Rav Meir Hida Amar Ein Zika. So we're giving it that this is Machlokes Tanon. We started off also like that. This is Machlokes Tanon, and the Gemara says that the end of the Bryce over there says Divrei Rav Meir. Rav Meir says Ein Zika, and I agree Rav Meir holds Ein Zika. I'm passing like the other time that says Yesh Zika. The Gemara has a problem with that to say that Rav Meir holds Ein Zika. Only sphere later Rav Meir Ein Zika. I'll show you Rav Meir holds Yesh Zika. For Tanan, Arba Achim Shnai Mehen Nesum Shtei Achayos Umeisur Nesum Achayos. However, holds us Lo Misyamos. This I think we quoted it once upon a time before, but just to see it on the chart. 4 brothers. 2 of them married to 2 sisters, and those that were married to the sisters died. So if you hold Yezika, so then neither one would be allowed to marry do the Yibum to any one of the sisters because each one is called a Chos Kukasa. Both of the sisters have to fall to Yibum, but it's not from the same husband, 2 separate husbands. So both of them have to have Yibum, and there are 2 available brothers. And the halacha is, here it says that Yezika, that neither one could do Yibum to any of the 2 sisters, because each one is, besides being a skuka, is a chos kukasa, because both of them are skuka. This also is going to be included in the subject of Yezika Ein Zika. And the Gemara says if it says here that neither of the brothers could do Yibum to any one of the sisters, that means because he holds Yezika and it's called a chos kukasa. He cannot marry this woman. Let's say this brother cannot marry this woman because she's the sister of Zakukasa. This one is a Zakuka, and she's the sister of the Zakuka, like a Chos Ishto. And this one also cannot, and either one, he can't marry either one because each one is a Chos Kukasa. And the other brother also cannot marry either one because it's a Chos Kukasa. And it seems that Rameir is talking over there. So you see Yesh Zika. You see that this also is a mission that says Yesh Zika. See the Gemara inside. For Tanan, 4 brothers, 2 of them are married to 2 sisters, and the ones who married the sisters died. So both women have to only get chalitza; they can't do yibum. And if Rameir is the mandam that says Ein Zika, so what's the problem? Both of them should do yibum. There's no one brother should do. Each of the 2 brothers should marry one of the 2 widows. He's not going to Rameir Ein Zika. If you think that Rameir holds there's no Zika, Hani Mitrei Batikas, and these 2 women are coming from two different houses means that they're not two wives of the same brother. They're two wives of two brothers. So each one is chayv yibum. What's the problem? Each brother should take one of the widows. The answer is a different problem over here. The reason of this Mishnah is not because Zika ain't Zika, and technically they would be able to. The Dilma, the Miyabim Chad, Ma Yisidach, V'kabat Talta, Misvas Yivamim. We'll see that in the chart. Here, the Gemara, this is the case. It says that the two brothers should not do yibum to these two women, even though technically they should. If you hold the Zika, we understand why they cannot, because each one is a chos kukaso to each one, so that's why they can't do yibum. The Gemara is saying ain't Zika, and really, technically, each brother could take one of the widows. The reason why you should not is because you might end up canceling out the mitzvah of yibum. Why is that? Let's say one of them marries one, and before the Reuven over here, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Reuven marries one. And before Yehuda has a chance to marry the other one, he dies. Yehuda died. He wasn't able to do it. He should have. We were expecting him to do it. He died. Now Reuven now cannot marry. It took away the opportunity to do yibum. Now both of them should do chalitza. But if one of them is going to do yibum, the other one might be left out in the cold, so to speak, because other possible miyabim is going to die, and he's not going to be able to do yibum to the second one because it's a chos ishto now. Now becomes the wife of the sister of his wife. So therefore, don't do chalitza instead of doing yibum in order to discharge both of them, not to make only one was discharged, the other one is going to become pushed away without having gotten yibum or chalitza. So we didn't. So Umar is happy to say, but Meir holds Zain Zika, and here's a technical problem. You don't want to be mevatel mitzvahs yivamim. The Gemara is the kasha. Why are you so concerned? I'll show you that there's no concern of me mevatel mitzvahs yivamim. If you hold Ein Zika, there's no problem. We don't care about mitzvah levatel mitzvah sivamin. I'll show you. I'm Gamliel, different Tana, which the Gemara is soon going to ask a kasha. How could you compare Gamliel to Rav Meir? What's the problem? The two Tanam, they're allowed to argue. But so far, the Gemara is asking kasha from a different Tana that is not concerned with the mitzvah levatel mitzvah sivamin. Rav Gamliel, Lama Ein Zika, and mutal levatel mitzvah sivamin. Rav Gamliel, who we holds Ein Zika, is not concerned with the possibility. With the fact that you're going to be mevatel mitzvah sivamin. What is that? Where do you see that? The Tanah, Rav Gamliel Omer, and miyana, v'lo miyana, tavtanat shetagdel, v'teitzi alazum mishum achos isha. We'll see that inside on the chart. This is a case. I made a small woman to show that she's a ketana. She's a minor. She's not yet 12 years old. So we had two brothers, and they married two sisters. One of them married a gedola, already 12-year-old. The other one married a ketana, only kedushin d'Rabbanan. And the brother married to the gedola died. So really, on the Torah viewpoint, that the Torah's viewpoint. When the Torah looks at it, so this woman is not, the ketana is not married. It's not a kedushin d'Oraisa. She's not really married to her. So he should do yibum. He has to do yibum to his brother's wife. But the ketana, the kedushin d'Rabbanan, is stopping it because on a d'Rabbanan level, he's already married to her, and this is his wife's sister. So she's an heir. He's not allowed to marry her. So is there a problem? Rav Gamliel holds Ein Zika, and therefore he says that he could Ein Zika. The Mishnah over there talks about should they try to get this little girl to do mian. Mian will absolve the marriage retroactively, and then he'd be allowed to marry his yevama because it's not his wife's sister. The wife has been absolved, or the wifehood has been absolved retroactively. Rav Gamliel says that if she does mian, fine. If she doesn't do mian, so then he waits until his wife doesn't want to do mian. She wants to stay married. She likes the marriage, and she becomes a gedola. Then he doesn't do yibum because this becomes his wife. That means he's not concerned with the issue about mitzvah asalavat mitzvah sivamin because that's what's happening. He's going to marry her on the raisa level, and when she gets a gedola, she becomes a gedola. He's going to continue having relations. He's going to make her into his wife on the raisa level, and then the yivam is going to go out. That means that there's no zika, and also that there's no problem of being batul mitzvah sivamin. So Rav Gamliel, how come Rav Meir is saying holds that there's a problem of asal batul mitzvah sivamin? You see, Rav Gamliel doesn't hold to that problem. We see the Gemara. the Ein Zika Tivata. What's the problem about being Batal Mitzvah Sivamin? Rabbi Gamliel is not concerned with it. He says in this case of the big sister and the small sister, if the young sister, she does Mian, is fine, and then he can marry Shimon, can marry the wife of Reuven. If she didn't refuse and she didn't abolish the marriage, so they wait until she grows up. And then the big sister is freed because she's the sister of the wife of Shimon, and Shimon cannot do yibum to her because he married her sister. And you don't see any problem about us about Mrs. Yevamin, Amalei. So they answered back to this question. I mean, the question of Rav is being attacked, that there's no such problem about us about Mrs. Yevamin. He says, Rav Gamliel, Rav Meir, Kabam, is asking Kasha from Gamliel, Rav Meir. I'm saying Rav Meir doesn't know like Rav Gamliel. He has no problem with Mrs. Yevamin. The Gemara explains what the Kasha was. Zachi Kaminan. I mean to ask, Rav Meir Chayish Afilu L'Sfeika, Rav Gamliel Afilu L'Badei L'Chayish. You're saying that in the case of Rav Meir, even on a doubt that maybe he's going to die. Let's go back to the case again. Maybe it'll become clear. This case with a big sister and a small sister, he's definitely going to be, by marrying the small sister, when she becomes older, she becomes 12 years old, now he's going to marry her, he's definitely pushing away no suffix, he's definitely pushing her away. By marrying her sister, he's saying that I'm not going to be able to do Yibum to you, and Rav Gamliel holds he's allowed to do that. The case of Rav Meir was much more complicated, that there are two brothers, both of them are alive and well, and we say each one marry one. So you want to say, no, don't marry, because maybe after you're going to do Yibum to one, the other one is going to die. That's a maybe. If Rav Gamliel, it's so even in this case, where he's definitely going to push away the Yevama by taking the sister, he's not concerned. And you're going to say that Rav Meir is so much extreme, and he holds it even on the suffix also, you're not going to allow him to, because maybe he's being Vatal Mitzvah Yevamin. And the Gemara says, yes, it's not a Raya, both are extreme. The Gemara answers, yes, not a kasha that the one who's is concerned about not to be Vatal Mitzvah Yevamin. The one who's not concerned, Rav Gamliel, is not concerned even if he's definitely doing it. But Rav Meir, that's Chalish Choshesh, that you shouldn't push away Mitzvah Yevamin, and holds even on the suffix, you should be careful. So all this was like parentheses, so to speak, from about 20 lines ago, that the Gemara brought a proof from Rav Meir that says that he says beferish that there's no problem of Zika. He says ain't Zika, and if there was no Ma'amar done, so then it's she's not considered a tzaras eishesach shalai b'lama b'zika. And the Gemara said, fine, you found Rav Meir holds in zika, but that's not a kasha that Rabbi Yehuda is going to pass like the other Tanoim that say yesh zika. So far we're still holding by the same machlokas. We tried to kasha any kashas proofs, nothing worked. Just to go back again, we have machlokas between Rav Huna Amar Rav that says ein zika, and Rav Yehuda, who didn't say in the name of who, just Rav Yehuda said yesh zika. Again, Rav Huna Amar Shmuel. Now the Gemara is going to talk about who the names are. We have the machlokas already. Rav Huna Amar Rav said ein zika, and Rav Yehuda said yesh zika. Now the Gemara says on the bottom of Yudches Amar Aleph, Amalei Abai Rav Yosef, Rav Yehuda the Shmueli. Rav Yehuda didn't say the name who he got it from. He just said Rav Yehuda was a Talmud both of Rav and Shmuel. Rav Huna before quoted in the name of Rav that ain't Zika, and now Rav Yehuda not saying who he got it from, he said yesh Zika, and the Gemara is going to say that he got it from his Rebbe Shmuel. Rav before was quoted as saying ain't Zika, and if Rav Yehuda is quoting now saying got it from somebody, but if Yehuda said yesh Zika, he got it from Shmuel. That's going to be the issue, and there's going to be a Machamar Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Rav said ain't Zika, Shmuel said yesh Zika. That's how the Gemara goes. On the bottom, Abai said to Rav Yosef that Rav Yehuda who said yesh Zika got it from Shmuel. Rav Yehuda got it from Shmuel, the Tanan. And I'm going to prove now that Shmuel holds yesh Zika. Shemeres Yavam, Shekid Eshachav Esachosa, Meshem Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, Omem Lo Hamtena Shias Achicha Maaseh. Shmuel Lo Chakav Yehuda ben Beseira. This is what we had before. I think this on the chart. This was number 2. This was the case that we had. Shemeres Yavam. That there was a woman that was waiting to get Yibum. She was a widow of Reuven, and there were 2 brothers-in-law, Shimon and Levi, and Levi married, or Kedushin at least, Kedushin to the sister. So we tell him, wait until your brother does Yibum in order to free the Zika, because right now she's a Chos Kukaska. Right now you're not allowed to marry her because she's the sister of the one who's a Kuka to you. This woman is a Kuka to you. This was the proof that said, Rav Yehuda ben Beseira says Zika, and that's why Levi has to wait. He can't marry his wife until the Zika is taken care of by his brother. Once the brother will do Yibum or Chalitza or whatever, so then the Zika will be off, and then he'd be allowed to marry her sister. So you see that Rav Yehuda ben Beseira says Yeh Zika, and Shmuel said that's the halacha. Shmuel passed like Rav Yehuda ben Beseira Yeh Zika. So Rav Yehuda, who was quoted as saying Yeh Zika, got it from Shmuel, this Rebbe, who passes like Rav Yehuda ben Beseira that says Yeh Zika. So fine. So Rav Yehuda that says Yeh Zika, you find Shmuel also holds Yeh Zika, so he got it from him. And he's not saying in the name of Rav Yeh Zika. Rav was quoted as saying, Rav was quoted as having said Ein Zika by Rav Huna. Amalei, so Rav Yosef said to Abaye, the Rav, what's concerning you if Rav Yehuda got it from Rav? Because Kasha the Rav of the Rav, you're concerned that it shouldn't be a contradiction what Rav said. Rav Huna quoted Rav as saying Ein Zika, and Rav Yehuda is going to quote Rav as saying Yeh Zika. You don't want to say that. But I'm a Rav. We find such cases that can be machlokes Amaram, it can be machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Yehuda. What Rav said, what's so terrible? Even if it would be that he got it from Rav, also wouldn't be any kasha. And it's arguing on Rav Huna, who said in the name of Rav, Ein Zika, and he says in the name of Rav, Yeh Zika. But the Gemara says, no, why make a machlokes if it's not necessary? If you're going to say that Rav Yehuda got it from Shmuel, that's fine. Because Shmuel said beferish Yeh Zika. If you're going to say he said in the name of Rav, it's going to come out machlokes Amaram, what Rav said. So better to make it simple. It's better to say that he got it from Shmuel, who everything fits and everything's neat, and there's a machlokes between Rav and Shmuel, then rather than to say Shmuel anyway is against what Rav Huna and say the name of Rav. So what are you gaining by saying that Rav Yehuda is also quoting Rav and there's machlokes what Rav said? Leave it simple. Probably Rav Yehuda got it from Shmuel that holds Yeh Zika, and Rav Huna got from Rav Yehuda that holds Ein Zika. Amir Rav Kana. Amita l'shmaita kamed Rav Zvid Menarda. I said over this whole story, this whole Gemara, in front of Rav Zvid from Menarda, and he said I had a different version of how this all was quoted, and it's beferish the way you said Atun Hachi Masnisula Anan Bahedi Masninala. You had the gear said how you said it before, that Rav Yehuda said it not in the name of Shmuel, you just said it Rav Yehuda, and we were trying to figure out who did he get it from? Did he get it from Rav? Did he get it from Shmuel? But we have a version that says beferish. Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, here it is, Amar Shmuel. He said first in the name of Shmuel, that was the first quote that we said in the name of Rav Yehuda. Here is quoted in the name of Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, and everything's very good. And he holds Yeh Zika, Amar Kasav Yeh Zika, and Shmuel is consistent with what he says someplace else. Was the Shmuel Tamei? We find Shmuel being consistent that he said that already. Amar Shmuel Allah Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, that the case of the three brothers, and one of them died, and the third brother, one of the brothers, did kedushin to the sister of the yevama, so we tell him wait until your other brother is going to do yibum mochalitza in order to be able to free the zika. That holds Yeh Zika. That said that. With Tzrichi, you need both statements of Shmuel to pass like Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, and also to say the case that the Shemesh Yavam is also that died is also to marry her mother. The Yashmin and Yeh Zika have a main hanimil b'chad that will betray low. If you just would have said Yeh Zika, you would think only it's one brother. If there are two brothers, so then it's not particular pointed at any one of the two brothers over there. Maybe Shmuel would agree that Ein Zika. So he said no, even if there's one brother, that even if there's one brother, even if there's two brothers, also there's Zika, and that's Rav Yehuda ben Beseira. The case with the two brothers, and also we say Yeh Zika. Yashmin Allah Rav Yehuda ben Beseira have a man only as long as she's alive. But once she dies, there might be mutter to marry her mother because the Zika goes off. Once the Shemer Shavim dies, Zika, and he's been allowed to marry the mother, that the Zika doesn't go off without anything. And since it was a Zika in the lifetime, also at night, also after death, also the Zika remains, he's not allowed to marry the mother. That's the end of the sugya. It all came in Aga because we thought we had a right from our Mishnah. It isn't the sugya of our Mishnah, but the fact that the Mishnah said that Mamar is going to make them Tzoras Achos Isha, what's it called? Tzoras Eshzach Shloi Ba'olamo. And not without the Mamar, it didn't happen. That was the deal. The Gemara thought that Yeh Zika, but the Gemara deflects the proof by saying that it just wants to tell you a chiddush, not like Bishamai, that the Mamar is not considered a Yibum. But as far as there's no Mamar, then it would have also been us if you hold Yeh Zika. So after the whole sugya comes back to the Machlokes here, do you hold Yeh Zika or Ein Zika? There are a lot of ramifications. The whole din of Achos Kukasa also, the Gemara says, is dependent on this Machlokes. And the case of marrying the mother is dependent on that. And it comes out there's going to be about 5 ramifications about this machlokes, and we do paskin like Shmuel, Rav Yehuda Shmuel that said Shemeres Yavam, like Rav Yehuda ben Beseira, that Yeh Zika. We're going to paskin Yeh Zika. So Yeh Zika means besides the fact that it's obligation to do Yibum, which everybody agrees to, but it's also considered somewhat of a connection. And even if there was no Mamar, also the Zika alone makes that they're connected, and all the ramifications that it said.
Even if the Yevamos does.
And even if she dies, there's still he's not also to marry the mother. That's the end of the sugi for today. We're a little behind, but this we'll catch up. So where we got up until the Mishnah Yud Chesed with Beis. Yes, Koch, we'll be back in a few minutes with Hilchos Pesach.
Can I ask a question on where the two brothers, one son and one married Gedola?
Yes.
So, and the brother who married the Gedola, he died, correct?
Let me just put it on the screen. Yes.
So he died. Now, if we wait and she doesn't do whatever it's called.
Mian.
Yeah. Then it's forcing that woman to wait till she grows up, right? And that's okay.
What's forcing her? She's what do you mean that's forcing her? We try to get her to do mian. We try to tell her to refuse the marriage. And she says, I don't want that. I like him. I want to stay married. So they'll stay married until she grows up, and then he'll do kedushin d'oraisa and he'll push away.
Until the woman grows up, she's the sister is chained, whatever. She's frozen.
Right. They're saying that the bigger sister cannot go free yet.
She's not free, right?
Because it's not a real achos kukoso yet. He's going to marry. You can't marry the live brother. The remaining brother cannot marry his wife until she be on the derisa level, until she becomes a gedola. So you're right that the widow cannot marry until her sister grows up, and it'll become a kedushin d'oraisa, and then she'll be freed because she's achos ishto. She's an erva. She becomes now. Once she becomes a wife, then it's a real wife, and then she will become the sister, the wife's sister, and then she can go free. But you're right that she wouldn't be able to marry until her sister grows up.
When did the brother?
The reason that he doesn't do chalitza or something is because then that would forbid him to his rabbinic wife. He doesn't do yibum or chalitza because then that would forbid the minor.
You're saying, why doesn't he do chalitza?
Clarity. Yeah, why? I mean, if he did chalitza, then that would make the minor forbidden to him because
achos chalitza. So right, sounds right. Yes.
So that's why we rather, since he's sort of married to her anyway, rabbinically, make the big one.
He says that he could wait. If he wants to, he could wait and wait till she grows up, and then he'll marry her and he'll push away the yevamos, and it's okay. That's called ein zika. If we hold yesh zika, so then I think that's not simple. That's what the Gemara is saying. This is only the mandama that says ein zika. I'm going to hold ein zika. If you hold yesh zika, then he can't do that.
Couldn't do that. I see. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Hamdav, what do you want to say?
What point did the brother die? Had he already taken the younger sister as a?
No, he died. This is the story. Two brothers, one had a wife and he died.
Okay.
And his live brother had married the younger sister, which is not yet a kedushin d'oraisa.
What point did he marry?
What? No. When they were
alive.
They were alive, but it's only kedushin d'rabbanan. On the d'oraisa level, the Torah doesn't recognize such a marriage.
Okay.
So on the d'oraisa level, he has to do yibum. On the d'rabbanan level, he can't do yibum. Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes.